For more on the late monarch's relationship to France, we'll bring back our international affairs editor, Philip Turle, who joins me here in the studio again. Philip, so can you tell us more about Queen Elizabeth II's relationship to France?
Well, this relationship has, of course, gone back right the way to the start of her time as monarch, and she's known every French president since Vincent Auriol in the 1950s, right the way up to Emmanuel Macron today. She's got on better with some than others, but there was a lot of questions raised about her relationship with General de Gaulle after he became president of France in 1958. And when General de Gaulle left power after the Second World War, he said that he would not return to the United Kingdom until he was president of France. So when he did, because he'd been there during the war in 1940, where he had called on the French to rise up against the German occupation and create the French resistance. And so after the war was over, he said, well, he wouldn't go back to London again until he became president of France, because he had a 15-year period where he really didn't have much involvement in French politics. So when he was elected in 1958 and they created the Fifth Republic, he went in 1960 on a visit to the UK and was extremely pleased to meet with the Queen, because the Queen was the daughter, obviously, of George VI, who was the King of England during the war and who had allowed General de Gaulle to go to London to make this very important announcement on the 18th of June 1940 to call for the French to rise up against the Nazi invasion. So there was a very close relationship between General de Gaulle and Elizabeth II. After General de Gaulle left power, there were up and down relationships. It was always rather tense with Valéry Giscard d'Estaing, whom the British considered to be like a false monarch who was pretending to be king. And they were saying, well, you know, it's a bit strange to have a pretend king opposite a real queen. So that relationship was always a little bit tense. But there was a very close and strong relationship between Queen Elizabeth and François Mitterrand, the socialist president, between 1981 and 1995, principally because they were both of the same generation. And they both had a lot in common. They were both fans of literature, of culture, of antiques. They travelled a lot. They both lived through the Second World War. And there became a very close friendship between François Mitterrand and Elizabeth II, so much so that when he was dying at the end of his time in office in 1995, he had cancer, there was a meeting organised to which the Queen was invited. And normally she would go through the protocol of queuing up to shake hands with everybody. And she knew that François Mitterrand was there. And she went straight towards François Mitterrand to meet him, because she knew this was probably the last time she was going to have the time to actually see him while he was alive. And he died just a few months later in January 1996. So there were other relationships which were a bit difficult with Nicolas Sarkozy. They were late for a meeting with the Queen at a dinner because they overslept. With Jacques Chirac, he was late for the Queen because he got stuck in traffic, and that's something that never happens normally for the Queen. And the only president really in recent times that she hasn't had such a close contact with has been Emmanuel Macron, for the fact that since Emmanuel Macron's been in power, there's been no state visit to the UK. There's been the COVID crisis. She's been in declining health, but they have met. So all the French presidents since 1952 have been close to the Queen in some way or another.
Speaking of, Philip, relations have been kind of tense between Emmanuel Macron or are expected to be tense between Emmanuel Macron and the new Prime Minister, Liz Truss. They've been warm with the Queen, as you said. So how do you think her passing might affect Franco-British relations, if at all?
It's difficult to say. It's true that the Queen spoke French. She was a Francophile. There was a big love, I think, between France and the United Kingdom concerning the monarchy. The French are big fans of the British royal family. I mean, I'm the first one to be surprised about how many times I've been asked to commentate on the British royal family on French television. You'd think they were almost like the French royal family. So there is this great interest in what is going on in the UK. It depends how Charles plays it now, whether he wants to keep this strong relationship up with the French. I think the contact between the French authorities and the British royal family will remain intact. I think that there's a great deal of affection in it there. You have to remember that politicians are passing through stars. They're not going to be there for that long, 5 years, maybe 7 years, but the monarchy is there for a very long time. So I think there is time to forge a new relationship with Charles, between Charles and France, and hopefully it'll be as warm a relationship as it was between his mother and the French people.
Philip Joel, we'll keep it there. Thank you very much.